This is a part 2 of the video which I made some days ago when I talked about Nigerian politicians who had gone to London to have their political meeting, strategizing against 2023 presidential election. But what I didn't mention in that video was the intrigue of the governor of Rivers State, Governor Nyesom Wike, who had been on political rampage, seeking political relevance after his ambition to be the flag bearer of PDP was jettisoned by the emergence of Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. Penultimate his rejection as his running mates in preference for Senator Ifeanyi Okowa of Delta States. Ever since, Wike has been hobnobbing with many politicians, including the Labour Party presidential flag bearer Peter Obi. Now, his latest political overture in London was with the flag bearer of the APC, Asiwaju Ahmed Tinubu, whom Wike had promised to give his full support, that he was going to support the APC in 2023 presidential election if Asiwaju Ahmed Tinubu would support him with 5 states, that he would support the presidential ambition of Tinubu, so long as Tinubu would promise to support him in 5 states. And I asked, support him in 5 states in what capacity? Because there's already a presidential flag bearer for his party, who is Atiku Abubakar. So, well, we will know what Governor Wike has up his political sleeve in the days, weeks, and months to come. But the political tactician that Asiwaju is, he tactically dodged such commitments. Now the addendum for the part 2 of this video. I had talked about politicians, their weird preference to always run abroad for political meetings and medical tourism, and the implication for the Nigerian economy. Because these politicians have been crisscrossing the whole world. I mean, they've been to Turkey, they've been to Spain, they've been to Istanbul. We even heard that Mr. Peter Obi is planning to go to Germany, and then from Germany he will move to in the US. And I asked, I have never heard Joe Biden crisscrossing the world trying to and form alliances, or the recent elected Prime Minister of Britain, Liz Truss, crisscrossing the whole world trying to forge political alliances. But what is so wrong with our own political class that they have this weird preference to always go abroad? Because I talked about the implication for such every time they live in Nigeria in terms of the depletion, of the FOREX, the meager FOREX that we have, creating more jobs for foreigners, while the reverse is the case whenever they leave this country, because the things that Nigerians were actually supposed to make perhaps and benefit from such association has been whisked away to foreign country. So that's the part 2 of the video that I couldn't put out there when I made the part 1 of this video. So enjoy the part 2 of the video, because this society that we're running into was also made safe by politicians just like themselves, who understood the message of stewardship and putting the country first. So this geriatric set of politicians running abroad for safety and flees the much needed foreign currencies that would have been used to develop the country in some other areas. But they would rather use these funds to travel abroad and invariably fund, put food on the table for these foreigners and put money in their pockets, while Nigerians continue to wallow in poverty. Because as you're going there, you're giving more jobs to foreigners, you putting more food on the table for foreigners, you're making the economy better. So when will these politicians ever put Nigerian first? Because their love for foreign things is the most unpatriotic trait of these politicians. Their love for foreign things, if the cars they are using is not Toyota, if it's not Honda, if it's not Peugeot, if it's not Chevrolet, they can never ride an innocent vehicle. How can we move forward as a nation when we are so unpatriotic even to our own people? How do you continue to fund the economies of these countries that you keep importing their things? And some of them even have the audacity of displaying their exotic fleet of cars as if to spite Nigerians who cannot afford such opulence and flamboyant lifestyle. I mean, somebody like Senator Dino Melaye is always, his romance with social media is born out of the fact that he always wants to showcase his fleet of exotic cars where he poses with, I don't get it. And these politicians, I don't think they have even made an attempt or even tried to attract foreign investors to their constituency, to even cite a project that will benefit the people that vote for them, the people that keep taking them to National Assembly. I don't think they've done that. Just showing off exotic fleet of cars, that's all. And these are politicians with no known company that one would say, okay, they have employed Nigerians or their constituents. No. But they feel so morally okay to display their wealth in the midst of poverty. How do they even sleep at night? Because what I don't get, we are at a crossroad in this country where key performance indices are at their lowest ebb. Are we talking about security, economy, education, healthcare? The key performance indicators that will make a country great has been very abysmal. Yet these politicians carry on as if it is business as usual, when they should show leadership, commitment, austereness, instead of showing off opulence and flamboyance in a country that is going through both security and economy hemorrhage. This same set of geriatric politicians are so quick to tell Nigerians to be austere, to tighten the belts, especially those in their constituency, that the times are hard. Yet, they do exactly the opposite. Why can't we have politicians that can attract foreign direct investment, especially to highly potential commercial hub like Aba, Computer Village, Alaba International Markets, the Onitsha Auto Spare Part Market, the very enterprising spirit of our Igbo brothers in Aba in the areas of shoemaking and clothing can only be compared with countries like Turkey in the areas of suit making. Have you tried made in Aba suit? There's obviously no difference between made in Aba suit and a Turkish suit. And then in the areas of shoemaking, like Italy is also known for making of premium shoes. Have you tried made in Aba shoes? You tried made in Aba shoes. Quite recently, the vice president was seen wearing and promoting made in Aba shoes as his own way of, bringing to limelight the enterprising spirits of our Igbo brothers in Aba. So it simply tells you that we have an enormous economic potential inherent in these commercial hubs. They're supposed to be commercial hubs. But why are the so-called representatives of this area? We have them in the federal, we have in the state. I mean, why can't they attract foreign investments to this area and turn this place into commercial hubs? Because Nigeria's got no reason, has no reason being poor, because we have everything there is to be a great nation, to be a prosperous nation. So we've got no reason to be poor. But because of the selfish interest of the so-called people who represent us, we are where we are. We are where we are until something is done. I can tell you, I don't want to sound like I'm a prophet of doom, but we'll never get out of the woods. I mean, I think in my last video, I talked about how Nigeria in the 80s, was far ahead of the Asian tigers. I mean, the Malaysia, Singapore, South Korea, Indonesia, Taiwan, in economic potentials. But just look at them today. They were able to break away from that. But we are still where we are because of the kind of system that we're running. Almost, if not 80% of the income of this country has been spent by 20% of a little clique, well, politicians and those that have ties with the powers that be. They are the ones spending the money. Then the rest Nigerians wallow in poverty, penury, and destitution. And nobody even cares about what happens to them. So that is the problem. So why can't these politicians, instead of showing off their wealth on social media to spite some of us that cannot afford these things, instead of running to a foreign land to have political meetings for fear of being kidnapped or bombed by terrorists and Boko Haram in the country, why can't they fix their own country and make it attractive for people to also come in? And probably, because I've never heard in the United States that the politicians in the United States said, they flew to maybe Dubai, they flew to Nigeria, they flew just to have it. The things that happen in Nigeria sometimes when they tell you, like, how possible can that even be? But it's happening. Yet, I so-called myopic political leaders who can't really see beyond their pockets, can't even attract foreign investors to come in and turn Aba into a commercial hub for West Africa. Not to mention brothers in Onitsha markets, the biggest auto spare part market in West Africa. A gold mine waiting to happen. If only we have a leader that is foresighted and think Nigerian first. Or is it a Keja Computer Village or Alaba International Market? Come and see what Nigerian boys are doing with technology. For Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook to be attracted to the computer village, it tells you the enormous economic potential inherent, in these markets. Because most of the Android phones that we even use are actually produced by technicians, small boys in China. Because if our boys are properly mentored, if they are given the needed tools, they can even they will do same and even outdo their counterpart in China. Nigeria really has no business being poor. We've got what it takes to be a successful country. If only we have a leader who is altruistic and think country first. And most Nigerians, for some reasons, want to resonate with the ideals of the presidential flag bearer of the Labour Party, Mr. Peter Obi, whom they probably feel is a different cut from the geriatric politicians, a breakaway from the old order. Whatever is driving the sentiment for this momentum or preference for Mr. Peter Obi, we will know in the months to come. So it is at this point that I have to say this. The recent trip, of Mr. Peter Obi to meet other politicians, which I earlier mentioned, I don't think those his political handlers had advised him. Well, this is entirely my opinion. To having a political meeting with other politicians, with that, including the former president Obasanjo, Atiku Abubakar, Wike, and so many other, including the APC presidential flag bearer. So I think Mr. Peter Obi, just look at what I've just said about most Nigerians thinking that is a different cut from the geriatric politicians, is a breakaway from the old order. So if he wants to do something differently, if he wants to be different, then he must dare to be different. If he was approached and asked for a meeting, because if he begins to behave like the old politicians that Nigerians are running away from, because Nigerians now, they said this period is a make or mar period in our political journey. It's going to be a make or mar period in our political journey. So any politicians that will come under the guise of a new order, and then his antics and dealings saying otherwise, Nigerians are highly, highly suspicious of such politicians, because they expect that the new order, which of course most of them are resonating with Mr. Peter Obi. Mr. Peter Obi should conduct himself above suspicion, just like Caesar's wife. He should not attract any form of suspicion to himself. He should be above suspicion, like Caesar's wife. I always like to say that. Has any of you read that Shakespeare? Because the moment Nigerians begin to suspect him, oh, Mr. Peter Obi is not different from the old bloc, that's the thing. That's the end of it. I'm not saying he's the preferred candidate. I'm just saying what most Nigerians are saying, especially on social media. If that is going to translate to vote for him, I do not know that. I'm just communicating the feelers out there. That's all. So if Mr. Peter Obi is a paradigm shift from the old order, then it has to be above suspicion, like Caesar's wife, because Nigerians at this point in our political journey are highly suspicious of those who pretend to have or to resonate with what most Nigerians want. So now, if you think Mr. Peter Obi was right in accepting the request to go to London to have meetings with other politicians, or you think he would have rejected the offer and insisted that the meeting be held in Nigeria, leave your comments down below. This is where I draw the curtain for today. Thank you for finding the time to watch my video. If you like the content of this video, please do give it a thumbs up. Strike on that notification bell so that you get to be notified whenever I upload a video like this. Leave your comments down below and do not forget to subscribe to this channel. Remain awesome. See you pretty soon. Peace out.